In this tutorial I will show you how to add growth modifiers to your simulation that will selectively poison specific growth sites. Specifically what I'm going to do is I'm going to grow a crystal of L-cysteine, a seed crystal like this, with a screw dislocation, and then at a certain point turn on the growth modifiers as you can see here, and then we'll continue the growth. Okay, so we're going to start by just growing a seed crystal of L-cysteine. So we're going to require a structure file for L-cysteine, which we can read in. We're going to need an energy file for L-cysteine, which we can read in. That has all 6 L-cysteine molecules in the unit cell, and those all have the same interactions as each other. When they've all been filled in the same as each other, we confirm the interactions. Go to our simulation options. We'll call the file cysteine, and we'll find a place to save it on our hard drive. We're going to group the species because all the cysteine molecules in the unit cells are the same as each other. We'll do 10 million iterations. We'll make a movie of it so we can see what's happening. Supersaturation profile I'll run in mode 5, where I'm running high to begin with, just very high, say 100, just to get things going for the first half of it, and so that will be for 5 million, and then we'll drop it down to something sensible, say 1 kilocalorie per mole for the rest of the simulation. I already have the energies in here for L-cysteine, and I'm not going to bother colouring this as it's not really necessary with the screw dislocation. I need to go back and add in the screw dislocation here on the first page, and go to the screw dislocation options, and I'll add in a screw dislocation along 0, 0, 1. Okay, and then we can run that simulation. Fast forwarding now to the end of the simulation, so that's just completing with the 50 frames, and now the simulation is complete. We can then open that simulation up in Avito, and we can see it first of all growing at high supersaturation, and then the supersaturation drops to 1 kilocalorie per mole, and we can see the typical pinwheel formation. Okay, so we've grown our seed crystal. Now what we want to do is we want to add on a growth modifier. So we go to the structure options and add in growth modifier. We come up with this new tab here called growth modifier. And there's a few things we need to fill in here. First of all, we need to decide how many sites we need for the growth modifier to be attached to. So each one of these sites would be a different site, say a kink site or an edge site or a surface site on the crystal. I'm just going to attach to one site in this particular case, and so we'll generate the fields here, and that will generate a list of the sites which we want to attach to down here. If I make a larger number here, like 5 for example, then I'll have 5 fields to fill in for all the different sites I want to attach to, but I'm only going to poison or add a growth modifier to one particular site. So now we need to find out the number for the growth site that you want to add the growth modifier to. And in order to do this, you want to come and have a look at the simulation that you've just done here, and you want to look at the file which says count on it. That's this file here, and you want to look at that file in conjunction with the energy file that you've used. So here's the energy file which we use for L-cysteine. In L-cysteine there are 6 molecules, and here are the energies for molecule number 1, and then the other 5 are just repeats of this because they're all molecules the same as each other. So there are 4 different interaction energies. Here they are in kilocalories per mole. The first one here at 3.5 kilocalories per mole is attachment number 1, of which there's 1, 2 of those. There's 2 of this type 1, and then here's the second interaction energy, and there's 1, 2 of those. So there's 2 of this second interaction, there's actually 2 of the third, and there's 2 of the fourth. So there are 8 interactions in total, 2 of each of these. Now if you go over and have a look in your count file, you can have a look at all the possible sites for L-cysteine. Here they are all numbered 1 through to number 82 here. And we've got to decide which one of these sites we want to put our poison onto. So we look at the information over here, we can see what each site is. So site number 1 at the top here has 2 of interaction energy 1, 2 of interaction energy 2, 2 of interaction energy 3, and 2 of interaction energy 4. In other words, this is a fully connected site where every single one of these interactions is occupied. And you can see the energy of that site is quite low because it's fully coordinated. If we go and look at a less coordinated site, say let's just for example pick out site number 57, that's got 2 of interaction type 2 and 2 of interaction type 3. It has an energy of 3.49 kilocalories per mole, a higher energy. It's a less coordinated site. So we need to now decide which site do we want to attach to. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to bind to this side facet of L-cysteine. This is the 100 facet of L-cysteine. That's where we're going to try and bind our growth modifiers to, and we're just going to do that onto what will be an edge site on this particular surface here, or a nucleation site if you like. Here is part of the structure of L-cysteine. What I'm showing you here is the 100 facet that's going into the screen, and we're attaching one molecule here onto the side of that 100 face. Now that molecule is attached to 2 molecules within the crystal, one with a crystallization energy of 3.5 kilocalories per mole and the other one with a crystallization energy of 0.98 kilocalories per mole. If we look at our energy file, then this is one interaction of type 1 and one interaction of type 2, and as I'll show you in a second, we'll go back to the count file in a second, this is site number 45. So here is the count file, and we're looking for the site which has one interaction of type 1 and one interaction of type 2, and we can see that that site is site number 45. So that's where we want to put our poison or our growth modifier on the L-cysteine. So having decided where to put the growth modifier, we can then put in the site where we want it to be, which is site number 45. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to specify these 2 numbers here. This says how frequently should the growth modifier attach and how long should the growth modifier remain attached. This first number here depends on how often you want it to attach. So when that site is picked, it won't attach it until it's picked, in this case twice, or I could have it has to be picked 5 times before it's attached. So the higher that we make that number, the less often the growth modifier is going to attach. But I'm going to have it attached quite often onto the crystal. The second number tells you how long it's going to remain attached, so that's going to, that site at the moment is going to have to be picked 10 times before it comes off. If I put that number to 100, it would stay on for a very long time before it actually came off. So let's actually have it staying on for quite a long time, let's say 50 iterations. So that's now set up. Site 45 is going to be have a growth modifier attached to it. It's going to go on quite often and it's going to stay on for quite some time. So let's just set up the other options that we have here. We're now going to load up a checkpoint here, so we can browse and find the last checkpoint which we just saved there. Then we need to decide on our simulation options. These can all remain the same. We might just increase the size here a bit to make sure that we have enough memory. So I'll put that up to 451 and 451 and 151. And I'm going to have a different supersaturation profile. I'll just go for mode 2 here because we already have a sea crystal, and we'll grow at 1 kilocalorie per mole. Everything else should be the same. We've still got the same screw dislocation in there, and we don't need any crystal colouring. And then we'll run that simulation now. Then when that's finished, we can read that new simulation into Avito. And what you'll notice over here, we go to the particle types which we've read in. We've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, which are the 6 cysteine molecules in the unit cell of cysteine. But then there's an extra one called type 99, and this one here is the growth modifier. You can't really see it at the moment. If I make it much larger here, you'll see, you can actually now see it on the side of the crystal, but it's got a colour which is a bit too similar to the other molecules in the simulation, so just make it a darker molecule. Now you can really see it standing out. We probably don't actually need it quite so large as that. And now we can see that growth modifier attaching to the side of the crystal, not so much to the top facet here. It's also attaching to the edges of the screw dislocation, where you have these larger step edges here with 6 molecules of cysteine. So you can see it attaching at site number 45, which remember is that site which is attached to 2 cysteine molecules within the actual crystal. So that allows you to add the growth modifier, and you can add more or less of that growth modifier depending upon how you change the parameters that you set for how often it's attached and how long it's actually left on for during the simulation.